I want you to imagine the craziest offer that you have ever been given. It's just so ludicrous. There is no way that anybody could possibly believe such a thing. And yet, here that person is, presenting it to you as though this is the best idea of your life. Who has that kind of audacity? Who believes that they get to pull this off? The person who possesses such an audacity would be akin to Charles Ponzi, a man filled with swagger and charm, so much so that he was able to scam 40 Bostonians and one of the largest pyramid schemes in the history of America. Charles Ponzi moved to the United States in November 15th, 1903. He arrived with only $2.50, but $1 million in dreams. After arriving in the United States, he went to Canada where he got a job at a bank, but the bank ended up falling through and he got into legal trouble after he cashed an erroneous check. But that's where his legal trouble didn't stop. He also got caught for trying to bring Italian immigrants across the U.S.-Canadian border. But eventually, he moved back to the United States, hoping that his idea of an international business journal would take off. He went to the bank to ask for a loan for it, but they denied the loan. But that didn't stop his correspondence with those who are interested in such an idea. One of his friends from Spain had sent him a letter describing what he thought would be good ideas for the business. But this letter contained a return stamp. The return stamp, although relatively cheap in Spain, was able to be redeemed for more in the US than it was originally bought for. Ponzi thought, this is a great idea, and he decided that he was going to capitalize on it. He did a little bit of this, of taking stamps from other countries and redeeming them in countries with better economies, but that wasn't enough. He decided he needed to go big. He told a few of his friends, and they told a few people, and they told a few people, and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, he's got this entire business where people are bringing in these return stamps and they're getting more money out than they ever invested. Now, this sounds a little sketch, and that's because it was. He had stopped redeeming stamps and had just started taking the new investors' money to pay the old investors. Now, Boston Post was the first to be on the scene to be aware of such suspicions around this activity. So they had posted something initially trying to say, like, hey, Ponzi's probably not up to some good stuff. But instead of deteriorating his image, Charles Ponzi actually got more people to invest than ever before. The line was wrapped around the corner of people waiting to get a hold of this. People were so confident in his business that instead of taking their money and investing it elsewhere, they were investing it back into the pyramid scheme by buying more stock within Charles' company. The federal government got involved in February of 1920 after the Boston Post had raised some serious concerns. But Charles Ponzi, he wasn't worried at all. He said, let the United States find out if it can. He was so confident that this was going to go over fine. But it marked his publicist as the one who led to his downfall. As mentioned, he was kind of getting in some hot water, and so he hired publicist William McMasters to help him out. But McMasters realized that there was no way Ponzi's getting out of this. Eventually, he turned everything over to the federal government. On August 12th of 1920, it was revealed that Charles Ponzi was $7 million in debt at the time, which is equivalent to $937 million now. He was then filed with 86 counts of mail fraud because the pyramid scheme is technically not illegal, but doing all of this through mail and making fraudulent claims is. So that's eventually what he was indicted for, and that's what he spent 3.5 years in federal prison. And on 1925, he was released only to be convicted on the state charges for the state of Massachusetts. But Charles Ponzi, being the man that he wasn't going to settle for that. He decided that he was going to go to Florida, and he was going to evade the law of Massachusetts, and he was going to start selling real estate underneath a fake name. Well, this eventually caught up to him as soon as he realized that the government of Massachusetts still had a warrant out for his arrest and was looking for him now in Florida. So he realized, this thing is going to work. We're going to ditch it. He decides he's going to go on a mariner and to Italy, and he's going to escape this entire thing. But He gets caught in New Orleans and serves 9 more years in prison. He eventually gets out in 1934, where, turns out, the records he used to get to the United States were, in fact, illegal. He gets deported to Italy again. He takes up a little bit of business in an airline group, but eventually comes back to Latin America, where he ends up dying in a public hospital in Rio de Janeiro with only $75 to his name in 1949. This man went from being one of the most lavish millionaires in American history to being almost a know-nothing. This rise to fame and immediate fall is so incredibly entertaining that he claims any money he scammed out of people was well worth it just to watch the show that he put on. Charles Ponzi proved to be a staple of the time period, and he continues to be one of the legacies that lives out through American history. Thank you.